Good morning, everybody. So, I hope you all had a wonderful snow day and got to enjoy at least staying home if you didn't get any snow. I didn't get any snow here at my house. But, so today is Tuesday, February 2nd. Happy Groundhog's Day. If you don't know what that is, make sure you watch the news today. They're going to be a very important groundhog. Make a prediction for us today. So we are on day 10 of module 3, and it's a pretty long one today, so I'm just going to go ahead and get us started, okay?
Welcome back, powerful thinkers. I'm Sue Sabella, your Great Minds teacher. Let's see what we need for today. Today, you'll need Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington. Hand out 9A response cards for dream circles, your journal, and a pencil. If you completed handout 9A in your journal last time, then you'll just need the book, your journal, and a pencil. Pause here to gather what you need and just hit play when you're ready to continue. Today, we're going to explore how different authors address the same topic, but in different ways. They might use photographs, or they may use words. Today, we're going to explore that a bit more closely. We're going to take a close look at two photographs from the March on Washington when Dr. King gave a speech, I Have a Dream, in 1963. Before we analyze or study these photographs very closely, I'd like you to just scan them with your eyes. What do you notice? Pause here to tell a learning partner and just hit play when you're ready to continue. You might have noticed that the photographs are similar or the same in some ways. Both photographs are black and white, and both photographs have people in them. Now I want you to use your historian eyes. Look at these photographs very closely. Study them from top to bottom, from the middle all the way to the outer edges. How are these photographs different? Pause here to study the photographs closely and to share your thinking, either with a learning partner or you can jot down your thinking in your journal. Just hit play when you're ready to continue. In 1963, a photographer used a camera to take these two different pictures. One of the pictures zoomed out as far as the lens could go. In the other picture, the photographer zoomed in on the crowd. Although these two photos are similar in ways, for example, they're both black and white, they both have people. When we examine them closely, we also learn that they're different. These photographs are different because they each show us a different view of the March on Washington. Even though the topic is the same, the topic is the March on Washington, we can see two different viewpoints by looking at these two photos. By analyzing or studying the photos closely, we learned that sometimes authors, including photographers, zoom in to make one viewpoint of a topic, and sometimes they zoom out and look at the larger picture. Now we're going to take that skill that we just practiced and we're going to apply it to two passages. We're going to take a look at Dr. King's speech using two different sources, and the question on the screen will help guide our thinking as we look at those two passages. How do I gather information from sources to answer a question in informative paragraphs? Now we're going to look closely at two passages to see what they tell us about the topic. Please pause here to grab your copy of Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington, your journal, and a pencil. Just hit play when you're ready to continue. Since we'll be comparing and contrasting these two texts, let's set up a box and T-chart in your journal. The box will hold the points that are the same or similar between the two texts, and the T-chart will hold the points that are different. Pause here to set up your T-chart just like the one on the screen, and just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so we are on page 119 in our journal. Okay, page 119. Put your box on the top, and then we need to write our T-chart, MLK Jr. And you guys know that MLK stands for Martin Luther King, I hope. And then we have handout 7A, which was your fluency homework. I think it's supposed to be due on today, on Tuesday, but because we had a snow day, I'll actually go ahead and change that so that it's due on Wednesday. All right, so this is what your page 119 should look like. Put the big box on top and then make a T-chart. Okay, go ahead and pause your video and get that on page 119, and then hit play when you're ready.
We're going to be comparing and contrasting the important points in both passages, but we're going to start with Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington. I'm going to be reading aloud pages 31 through 38, and we're going to pause after each page to think together about the important point that we would like to add to our journal. Now, if you'd like to read this section on your own and determine the points on your own, you can pause me here. But if you'd like to do it along with me, let's get started. I'm starting on page 31. The high point of the day comes at 3 o'clock. The crowd grows quiet. A young Black man takes the stage. He looks at the crowd. There are people as far as he can see. When I think about the most important point on this page, I think about the page as a whole. And this page is telling us that a young Black man is going to speak to a crowd. We can see it in the picture. Here he is up on the stage, and he's going to be speaking to a crowd. And we also read it in the words. So I'm going to jot this down in my journal right here. Now I'm on pages 32 through 33. The man's name is Martin Luther King Jr. He is a preacher and the son of a preacher. He has grown up in Georgia. He knows all about what it's like to be a Black person in the South. So when I think about the topic, Dr. King's speech, I think an important point to remember, important enough to jot down in our journal, is that Dr. King used his words because he was a man of peace. That's an important point that I'd like to remember, and I'm going to jot that down into the journal. Now I'm going to read page 36, and it's going to be your turn to start jotting in your journal. I want you to listen closely, and I want you to think, what is the important point on this page that is connected to Dr. King's speech? Ready? Here we go. There are threats against his life. Some people want him dead, but that does not stop him. Today in Washington, Dr. King speaks words of hope. His speech is about his dream for a better world. What was the important point on that page that related to Dr. King's speech? Jot that down in your journal, and remember, you have the power to scroll back and listen again if that would help you as a learner. Pause here to stop, jot, and even rewind and revisit if that would help. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so I actually want to go back and I want to listen again to just that last part. I want to listen really carefully to make sure I hear everything that is in that passage so I can decide what it is about Dr. King's dream or his speech, that is in this part of the book. So let's listen to that again.
Better world. What was the important point on that page that related to hope?
Let's go back.
His
Hold on.
speech. Life. Some important point on this page
Okay, here we go.
that is connected to Dr. King's speech. Ready? Here we go. There are threats against his life. Some people want him dead, but that does not stop him. Today in Washington, Dr. King speaks words of hope. His speech is about his dream for a better world. What was the important point on that page that related to Dr. King's speech? Jot that down in your journal, and remember, you have the power to scroll back and listen again if that would help you as a learner. Pause here to stop, jot, and even rewind and revisit if that would help. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so what I heard while Miss Sabella was reading that page is it was a very specific sentence that started with his speech was about Dr. King's dream for a better world. So right now we should probably write that down, that his dream is for a better world.
I'm going to finish reading the passage for Martin Luther King Jr. in the March on Washington, and then I'm also going to read handout 7A. While I read the rest of this passage and the passage on handout 7A, I want you to listen with this question in mind. How are these similar? How are they the same? And we're going to focus on jotting down information in the box as you hear it, whenever it's the same, so you can pause the video when you need to, so you can stop and jot anytime you hear something that's similar. So listen first to pages 36, 37, and 38, and then listen to handout 7A and begin to jot. Here we go. He says, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin. Now I'm on page 38. He hopes that people will see all children for who they are and for the things they do in their lives. It is his dream that one day little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and girls. So that's the information from Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington. Now, let's listen to information from handout 7A. And remember, you're listening for similarities. What's the same? I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. Now I'd like you to pause, and you can scroll back if you need to listen again. How were these passages similar? What parts were the same? Jot those down in the box in your journal and just hit play when you're ready to continue.
So what I heard was that the handout 7A is words from Dr. King's actual speech, okay? It's not a story like Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington was. It's actually words from his speech. And what I also heard in that passage was Dr. King describing his dream for the children. So those are some things that I wrote down, that they are words from his actual speech, and that his dream for children is described. So on what I wrote down there. Okay. So now we're going to work on filling on the big box up on the top. So let's go back to our video and see what Miss Bella has to say.
When we think about the passage in Martin...
Sorry, I'm going to go backwards. I went too far. Let's try it right here.
Your journal and just hit play when you're ready to continue. You might have jotted down that Dr. King has a dream for his own children, and he also had a dream for all children. You might have jotted down words that were exactly the same in both passages, and that is great too. When we think about the passage in Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington, I picture a camera zooming out to show us a bigger picture. Dr. King had a dream for a better world, and that was for all people of all ages. When I think about handout 7A from I Have a Dream, that's definitely zooming in on just one part of Dr. King's speech. He had a dream for his own children, and he has a dream for all children. Pause here to take a stretch break.
Okay, so before you take a stretch break, let's talk about what needs to be on page 119. Okay, so we have the information from Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington. We have the information from I Have a Dream, and then you need to make sure that you have written in the box what Miss Sabella has just said, that these two passages are similar because it talks about how he has a dream for his children, or for his own children and how he has a dream for all children. So make sure that you have all of this written on page 119, and then you can take your stretch break. Okay? All right. I'm going to flip it back to that. Well, you know what? I'll just hold this right here because this part is not on the screen. So I'll leave this right here, pause the video, get this written down, and then hit play. Okay? So now it's time for stretch break.
Just hit play when you're ready to continue. Please pause here to grab handout 9A, the response cards for the dream circles. Or if you completed handout 9A in your journal, turn to that page now. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so we need to be on page. Hold on one second. I'll be right back. Hold on. Okay, so we did the Dreams for the Children and Dreams for the States and Nations on pages 114 and 115 in your journal. So turn back to those pages, please.
What was Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream? We're going to be gathering evidence from your journal or from the response cards to be able to answer this question in an informative paragraph. Today, we'll just be choosing 2 pieces of evidence. First, I'd like you to look at the dreams that Dr. King had for children. Choose one of those dreams to have as your piece of evidence that you'll include in your informative paragraph. You can put a check mark next to that piece of evidence, or you can draw a picture of what's happening in that piece of evidence. Pause here to make your choice and to draw if you'd like, and then just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so on page 114 of your journal, you were told to pick 3 of the dreams for children that Dr. King had in his speech. So your choices were: my 4 children will not be judged by the color of their skin. Little black boys and girls will join hands with little white boys and girls. All God's children will sing in my country 'tis of thee with a new meaning. And then the last one, all God's children will be able to join hands and sing. So on your page 114, now mine is blank because I did not put my dream cards on here. You're going to pick one, okay? Just pick one, and that just put a check mark or circle it or something with a colored pencil, but just so that you can tell which one you are going to use. Okay, so go ahead and do that now. Okay, here we go.
Dr. King also had dreams for the states and nation. You'll also choose one piece of evidence from this category. And remember, you can put a check mark next to that evidence or draw a picture next to the evidence that captures the big idea in that evidence. Pause here to do this work and just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay. Okay, so on your page 115, you were asked to choose 3 of the dreams for the states and the nations. And there were a lot of these to choose from. So you should have 3 on there. What I want you to do is do the same thing. Pick one that you want to use, put a check mark beside it, a star, circle it, whatever you want to do. Just make sure that you have it highlighted or make sure that you know that that's the one that you're going to use, okay? Ready. Here we go.
Now that you've chosen your two pieces of evidence, I'd like you to take some time to jot down a possible topic statement that your evidence would support. Remember, the question that's being asked is on the screen. Use the question and the evidence to help you create your topic statement. Pause here to do this work now and just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so now I realize that on your pages 114 and 115, you may not have room to write a topic statement. So let's go ahead and go to page 120. Okay, so label page 120. And then I want you to try to write a topic statement here. And remember, you are answering the question, what was Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream? So we need to write that question on the top of the page. What was Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream? Okay, so I'm going to write the question on the top of the page, draw a line under it to separate it. Okay, now I want you to try to make a topic statement, okay? Look at what you circled on page 114 and 115 and think about what a good topic statement would be. How could you introduce and talk about that in a writing passage? Okay, so go ahead, pause the video and work on that, and then push play when you're ready. I hit the wrong button. Okay, so what I wrote down as my topic statement was that Dr. King's dream was for freedom to ring across the country. That answers the question, what was Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream? And that also makes it easy for me to use my evidence from page 114 and 115. So your topic statement does not have to be the same as mine. This is an opportunity for you to practice writing your own topic statement, which I look forward to reading some of those. I want to see how well you guys are doing with them. If you want to use my topic statement, that is fine. It's up to you. But if you want to try and go ahead and do it on your own, I would love that. Okay. So let's go ahead and get back to the video.
There's the check mark in the corner, and you know what that means. Your classroom teacher will be checking in with you to see if you've selected your two pieces of evidence. So please check over your work to make sure you have two pieces of evidence and a possible topic statement, and you'll be in great shape. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so remember you just wrote your own topic statement, or you used mine, which I'll put that up to the screen so you can see it again. Forgot to do that, sorry. If you circled one piece of evidence on page 114 and you circled one piece of evidence on page 115, then that will be your two pieces of evidence that you have selected, okay? So that will be, and we will use that in our writing. So make sure so far that you have your topic statement and your two pieces of evidence selected, all right?
As we explore this piece of art, I'm going to ask you to do some drawing in your own journal. So please pause here to grab your journal and to turn to a blank page. Also, grab your pencil and then just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so we are now on page 121. So go ahead and number page 121 so that we can do the work on this photograph.
Today, we're going to examine the shapes, spaces, and dark and light areas in this photograph. And this will reveal to us its deeper meaning. I'm going to give you a challenge. I'm going to ask you to draw this photograph in your journal, but the catch is you can only use 4 shapes. One for the clouds, one for the skyline, one for the line of people, and one for the land. So again, you're not copying the whole photograph. You're just using shapes. Pause here to sketch this image in your journal, only using those 4 shapes. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so I know this is a little confusing. So I'm going to show you, there are the 4 things that Miss Sabella wants us to draw: the clouds, the line of people, the skyline, and the land. Okay, and we can only use shapes. So I'm going to turn my book sideways. I'm going to turn my book sideways. All right. The first thing I need to start with is the land, obviously, because it's on the bottom. The land to me looks kind of rectangular. So I'm going to start here and I'm just going to draw. Okay, so there's my first shape. Probably should make it into an actual shape, make it into a rectangle. Okay, so there's my land. Oops, I don't know how I did that. There's my land. So the next thing would be the line of people. Well, the line of people are right above the land. So I'm just going to draw a line of people. Just going to draw my line. Okay. My next shape that I'm going to draw are the clouds. And the clouds look very angry. Okay, so there's my clouds. Okay. And then I see one more thing in the skyline right in the middle. And so I'm going to make a triangle showing that. What do you think that is that I see right in the middle? All right, so this is what you're going to do similar, okay? You're going to do your own. You don't have to copy mine, but you're going to only use 4 shapes. Lines are included in a shape for this, okay? And try to show those 4 areas of the photograph, okay? And once you have done that, go ahead and push play so that you can resume the lesson. And I'm going to share my screen with you again so that you can see the picture. All right, so we're going to go ahead and continue watching the video.
When you see the word space, you might think of outer space. When we use the word space for art, it means something a bit different. Space are the areas around, between, or within shapes or forms in a work of art. You're probably wondering why I asked you to draw the photograph just using shapes. And one of the reasons why is I want you to think about the space that exists in images. The name of the photograph that we've been examining is Selma to Montgomery March, Alabama, 1965. This photograph was taken by James Corrales. As we examine the space and the light in this photograph, I'd also like you to keep your journal open to the page where you drew this photograph in the form of shapes. I'm going to ask you a few questions to guide your analysis or study of this photograph. The first question is, where do you see large or small spaces in this photograph? Point to the photograph and locate the small and large spaces. Pause here to do that now and just hit play when you're ready to continue. Here's the next question. What was James Corrales' point of view when he took this photograph? Point to where you think he was standing. Was there a lot or a little space between him and the marchers? And how can you tell? Pause here to do some thinking about that. You can even point to your own brain as you think. Just hit play when you're ready to continue. Now I have a how question for you. You're going to have to do some powerful thinking about this one. How might this photograph have looked different if Corrales had chosen to stand closer or to just show one or two faces in the march? Pause here to tell a learning partner or do some jotting in your journal. How would this photograph look different if Corrales had been closer with his camera? Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so let's go back over some of those questions, okay? So the first question was about the shapes. So where are the largest shapes in this photograph? And when I look at it, I immediately see the clouds. The clouds take up over half of the picture. So that definitely seems like a large shape to me. And the ground obviously is a large shape also. And some of the smallest shapes are the people, obviously, especially way back here in the back of the crowd. But I also see flags. Like this is a small shape, this is a small shape. There's something else back here that looks like it might be a sign that would be a small shape. So the people and the flags mostly are the small shapes and small spaces. All right, so where do you think James Corrales's point of view is when he took this photograph? Like, where is he? Is he above the people marching or is he below the people marching? He's below. I mean, you could tell that he is standing maybe at the bottom of that hill, taking the picture looking up at them because they look like they're higher than he would be standing there. So, do you think that there's a lot of space between him when he took the photograph and the marchers? Like, are they far away? Are they close? What do you guys think? I don't think that he was super close to them. I mean, you can tell when you look at the photograph that there's a lot of, there's like a hill and there's grass and there's some bushes and brush right here. So you can tell that there's quite a bit of space between them. And I think he wanted to be far away from them so that he could get this big line of people in the photograph. He wanted the people, the viewer, to see this big line of people.
Here's another how question and some more powerful thinking required from your brain. How does Corrales's point of view affect how we see the marchers? Pause here to tell a learning partner or to jot a bit more in your journal. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so what Miss Sabella is asking is how does the location of where Corrales is standing affect how we see those marchers? Like when I look at the photograph, I can see like the line of people looks like a dark line against this white part of the sky. You see the people against the white part. Would it look as dramatic if he had been standing, let's say, farther down the hill and the line of people would have been mixed in with all of these dark clouds because they would have been higher then? Would it have been the same had he been above them? And you would have not seen them as well because they would have been blended in with all the grass and the shrubbery. So, how does where Corrales stand, his point of view, affect how we see them? Well, we can see the marchers against the bright part of the sky. He's far enough away that we can't see their faces. We see their bodies and their shapes, but we can't make out their facial features. If he had been closer to the marchers, then we maybe would have been able to notice individual people more clearly. But instead, we see these people as a very strong group of people together. And the storm also is an important part of Corralis's point of view because it takes up a lot of space above the marchers, and it kind of looks like the clouds are going to be coming down on them. So Corralis's point of view really makes the way that we see the marchers, it kind of brings them out, makes them the focus of the photograph.
In addition to the shapes that we see in this photograph also includes light and dark areas. Now I'd like you to look at the photograph and also the shapes that you have drawn in your journal. When you look at the photograph and then look at the shapes in your journal, if you need to darken a shape with pencil or with colors, pause here to do that now. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so what I'm doing on my journal, I know that the ground on the bottom needs to be dark, so I've darkened that in a little bit. And I know that parts of the clouds are really dark, like right here, and then in the middle, and then some more on this side. Those are the really dark parts of the clouds. So I am darkening up parts of my drawing. So you go ahead and do that with yours, the parts that you see that need to be darkened. And then just push play when you're ready.
Where do you see the darkest areas in this image? Point with your finger to the dark areas in this photograph. Now point to the lightest areas in this photograph. And finally, I'd like you to think very powerfully about the question on the screen, and I'd like you to spend some time thinking and jotting a response in your journal. How do the use of space and light show us what is important in the photograph? Pause here to do your thinking and your jotting. Just hit play when you're ready to wrap up our video lesson.
Okay, so I don't actually want you to do the jotting right now. I do want you to do the thinking. Okay, so how does the use of space and light show us what is important in the photograph? I want you to think about that. Tell a learning partner or tell me, and then we're not going to write it in our journal. Okay, so when you are done thinking and telling, go ahead and push play. So when I look at this photograph and I think about the space and the light, the main thing that I automatically see are the clouds. I said that before. The clouds seem really, really important to me in this photograph. Okay. They take up a lot of space. They're very dark. They seem very dangerous and important. It's almost like the clouds are a symbol of segregation and how it's a, a dangerous and a bad thing, and they're putting their lives at risk by walking through this storm to try to end segregation. They feel like the people, the marchers feel like doing this is so important that they put themselves in danger. I also see that I can see far into the distance. That's another thing about the space. We can see far, far in the distance, this big line long of people. We know that there's a lot of people marching. We can tell from their clothing that they have dark, most of them are wearing dark clothing, and the way that they are back against the light part of the sky, you really can see them. It makes them stand out. They're very dark against the white sky, and it makes them seem like they're a much stronger group when they're all together. And because we can see all of the people together, more than just one person, it makes it seem like all of the people together, when they work together and fight together, there's more power in that than just one person trying to change things.
When we zoom in and zoom out into Dr. King's speech, we learn so much about the dreams that he had for children and for our nation. You worked very hard today, and I am so proud of you. I can't wait to continue to learn and grow with you. I will see you again soon, my friends.
Okay, so remember that in today's work, we did page 119, where we wrote down things about the story and about the fluency handout. And we did page 120, where you practice writing a topic statement, and 121, where you drew with, oops, that's upside down, where you drew 4 shapes to show the photograph. Okay, so those are the 3 pages that you need to do today. Make sure you take a picture of them and submit them to me. Let's say today's secret word is coffee, because I need some. Today's secret word is coffee. Guys, don't forget to write it in the Google Classroom assignment when you turn it in, because that's the only way I can give you your 5 bonus points. Okay? All right. I'll see you guys later. Bye.